welcome everybody. Another Property Thursday. Thanks very much for spending the time. It's first thing I want to say, I am so impressed, Andy, with your new logo, the look, the colouring. I think they've done a magic job.
Thanks, Chris.
Really good, really good. And most of the people now that are on, including most of our wealth managers, know the story of Joseph Mews, and it's really great to have you back, you know, because it was quiet last year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and that's very kind of you to say. Thank you, Chris.
Not at all. No, we had a meeting with your guys in Dubai earlier this week, and one of the questions I said was, well, what's coming up? And Johnny said, well, we've got this one in Birmingham coming up, and he showed us all about it. And I said, can we add that to the show? And so he said, well, I'll have a word with Liam. I said, I know it's short notice, but this is live TV, obviously. So you've added it. I think it's a fascinating project, and what a great position in the city. So looking forward to that. So thanks for amending all the slides, Liam. I'm sure you were cursing. Andy, over to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Chris. Hello, everybody, and thanks again for giving us your time. I'm going to be as fast as I can to get to the interesting stuff, which is the new stock and the market update. The idea of these Zooms or webinars is not for you to listen to me rabbiting on. Hopefully, you'll get just a little golden nugget of information, which will help you to make a decision on whether you're going to invest in UK property or not. Liam's doing the slides. Just a quick thing before we start. Let's congratulate Chris. He won the Employee of the Year 2021 at Holborn. He got a huge bonus. He thought about retiring.
I told you not to mention.
He actually won Employee of the Year. He won it. I mean, can you hold up your thing, Chris?
I can, but I don't think it's glass. Look, it's glass.
It's proof. He's the Holborn Employee of the Year 2021. Well done, Chris. I'm sure you deserved it. Right. I hope I'm not going over old ground here, but just to tell you a little bit about who we are. So you've known us as Seven Capital for the last 10 years. Seven Capital are a developer. They buy land and get planning and build, and everything else is us. We're all the sales, marketing, customer service, delivery, aftercare. The whole thing is us. Joseph Mews sat above that. He's just Seven Capital. It's exactly the same. We've just rebranded. And the reason why we've done that is my partner at Seven Capital wants to go Zone 1, Zone 2, London, and he's actually doing that. He's got 2,000 units now in Kensington, Islington, etc. And our database, 50,000 investors around the world, they want 250 grand. They've got a 50k deposit that they want to put down, not $1 million to 5 million. So we agreed that we would go more independent and start working with other partners as well as Seven Cap. So it's exactly the same. Just a little bit about other stuff that's in our portfolio. The top right, Alexander Daniels. It's a recruitment company. I started it 12 years ago with a couple of young lads. It's just been valued at 15 million. We're market leaders in additive management, 3D printing globally. We're market leaders in the Channel Islands, Jersey and Guernsey for accountancy and finance. We're in renewable energy, etc. It's quite a big operation, 150 staff, and it's just growing and growing. That's in the group. BMS, I sold a company in 2020. It was a car finance company because I used to work at BMW, and with the money, I bought a house in Spain, and it was a terrible experience. The thing doubled in value, but the service was shocking. And so I decided to get into property and offer the service, because as an investor, I knew what the people wanted. I couldn't do cars or finance anymore because I'd signed the warranties, and that's why I started BMS. BMS owns the share in Seven Capital. BMS owns Joseph Mews. Set that up in 2021. So that's the kind of strength behind everything. Have a look online. We're worth a few quid. Nub and Ho, these are the nicknames of my kids, actually. People think it's Chinese. This is a commercial property business I set up. It just houses office blocks. I bought a few of those over the years, enjoy investing in that. And then the brain tumor charity, that's something I set up. That's a sad story. Sadly, my little boy, Joseph, was diagnosed as a child, as a 2-year-old with a brain tumor. Again, around about the same time, 2020. And we found out the survival rate was 15%. Couldn't believe that. And it was all to do with no money going in for research. So I set up a charity called the Joseph Trust, which I turned into Brain Tumor UK, and now the Brain Tumor Charity. It's the largest of its kind in the world. At the time, there was 500 grand a year going into research into brain tumours in the UK. And last year alone, during the pandemic, that charity put 43 million pounds into research. What does it mean? The survival rate for kids now is 71% over that 20 years from 15. So very proud about that. And that charity is still going today. Have a look at it. Right, next one. This is just telling you about our performance. I'm going to whiz through these. Hopefully, you've heard of Seven Capital. You've heard of us before. We've been partners of Holborn for 4 or 5 years now. We've done all this stuff. We're well established. Check us out online. Go on Trustpilot and look at Seven Capital and see what 650 people are saying about us. It's all about the back end. This off-plan property sector, the sales and marketing is the easy bit. It's all about delivery and customer service. That's what happened to me in Spain, and I know that that's what clients need. They want to build wealth through property. The idea of buying a 200 grand apartment, putting 50 grand down, having a mortgage for 150, getting it rented out to cover that, letting it sit there for 15, 20 years, it doubles in value. This idea is still alive today, but you've got to go with a partner you can trust. There's lots of stories in our sector where people can lose money or goes wrong. So you've got to go with someone with a track record. This is our track record. You've got to go for the right location because it's all about sustainable tenant demand. If it's rented out, you'll actually forget you've got that property. You just look at it now and again because it just sits there cooking, going up in value all the time over the years. If it's empty, if you get the wrong location, you'll wish you never bought it. It's a pain in the backside. It's a really bad investment. So go with the right partner. Make sure you don't lose any money. Go with someone with a track record. Make sure you get the right location. And the last one is sit on it for as long as you can. If you have to sell after 2 or 3 years, you'll probably break even. You might even lose money because of stamp duty and the cost of buying stuff. If you can sit on it for 10 years, you're in. You're in. And if it's 15 or 20 like me, I'm 58 now. I started investing when I was 21. Imagine how much I paid for that stuff 30 something years ago and what it's worth now. I've got nearly 30, I've got about, I don't know, 28 apartments and 5 office blocks. And some of those I paid £20,000 for and 80,000. And at the time, it was all the money. It was everything I had, just like, it is today. But 15, 20 years, I'll show you a slide in a minute. It'll show you what's happened. So next one.
Andy, I was just going to interrupt, Andy. You and I did a webinar last year, which is still on the website. It was called How to Build Your Property Portfolio. And it's still on the website, and it's still a very, very good watch. Just an advert, that's all.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Chris. Chris is going to put his hand up to stop me because once I get going, I don't stop. This is just what I was talking to you about. Let's go back to the house in Spain. By the way, we've still got it. We love it. We brought the kids up there. It's been a great success. But I bought it off plan. Nobody spoke to me for a year while it was being built. I suddenly got a phone call. You've got 2 weeks to get the 80% in. I put 20% down. And I wanted a mortgage. This was an investment as well as a holiday home. It was a double thing for us. And I didn't have time. I had to come up with the cash. Thank God I'd got it. It took me about 9 months to get that thing set up. Imagine abroad in Spain, trying to find someone to look after your place. This was 20 years ago. How do you furnish it? I couldn't furnish an apartment in Birmingham where I live, let alone abroad. Where'd you start? Imagine going to IKEA and all that. So it took me 9 months to learn who I could trust and get it all done before we could rent it out and start using it ourselves. And so what this is basically, what you're looking at now is basically all of that. We do the whole thing. And I know everybody says, oh yeah, we do it, but they don't really. I don't think they do. We've got 65 staff at the moment in our company, and over 40 of them are in customer service. It's all about the back end. It's about getting people ready for completion, helping them with the handover, making it all automatic, helping them with furniture, helping them get it rented out. And importantly, aftercare. There's a 2-year defects warranty. Apart from the build warranty, which is 10 years, which isn't inside your apartment, it's the whole building. There's a 2-year developer defect warranty. So if something goes wrong in your door sticks or crack in the wall or the toilet blocks or whatever, you're supposed to ring up and the developer does it for you. Well, a lot of people don't do that. But everything we do is we won awards for the aftercare. Everything we do focuses on that period. So we've got 2 full-time staff answering the phone. There's an automatic overnight, and we've got a man with a van. So when things go wrong, we're out to fix it within the hour. And that's what basically all this says. People trust you. You say, this is a good investment, come with us, buy this, it'll rent out, it'll work out for you. But you've got to deliver with this stuff here. You've got to look after them all the way, because it becomes very emotional at the end. The system in the UK is, right, you're buying off plan, you're entering into a contract, and when we're ready, it's called PC, practical completion. When we're ready, you've got 2 weeks notice. Our lawyer will serve your lawyer's notice. And if you don't give us the money in that 2 weeks, and it's probably 150 grand or 200 grand, you lose your deposit and you're in breach of contract. That's what the system says. And some people find that very stressful, understandably. And so what this page tells you is that we're really experts at this. We've got 302 touch points from 6 months out to delivery, 300 touch points where we email, WhatsApp, phone the clients to make sure they're ready. Chris.
And Holborn Mortgages, we've got the mortgage solution as well. And I know I say it every week, but get in early, get a decision in principle. You know, given your example, Andy, of, you know, you've got 2 weeks to go, guys, let's do it. Doesn't work. We start the mortgage process 5 months before completion, but really, if it's an 18 months off, have a word with our mortgage department, get a DD, get it dipped, as they call it. Sorry, Andy, just another advert.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We, in the last 3 years, through, go to the next one, please, Liam. In the last 3 years, look, we delivered all this stuff, but even through the pandemic, we delivered 1,000 units in 19, 20, 21. And you've got to be organised to do this, and you've got to help the clients. And like I say, 300 touch points, get them ready. Sometimes when the pandemic came and there was uncertainty, the surveyors go, oh, we don't want too much exposure. So, for example, we handed over St Martin's Place, 238 units last year. The lenders, they only wanted 5 or 10% exposure in the building. So the ones who were organised and got in quick, no problem, got all the mortgages. And then the last 10%, we had about 25 people struggling to get mortgages and had to have a slightly higher interest rate or slightly lower loan to value amount of money they could borrow, because the exposure for the lenders had already been taken up in uncertain times. We've gone past that now because of the pandemic. People feel better about it. But I'm just saying, you're absolutely right, Chris. Someone has got to get the clients prepared and ready for that completion. This is all the stuff we've done. There's more on it. There's more than this. The quadrant's not on there and so on. But we've been very busy. Go on then, Liam. We've got offices in these places. We've got offices, if you're in Dubai, we're over there, in Africa. So we can reach local people. We can meet you guys. I know you know a lot of our people, Craig and Johnny and Liam and what have you. Next one. Okay, so we worked with Seven Capital for the last 10 years, doing all of everything they've had, we've handed that over, sold it and handed it over. We're now, as I say, because they're going zone 1, zone 2, we're still working with Seven Capital. We'll do their Birmingham stuff, but we're working with other partners. In the past, we've worked with Oxfordshire County Council. We delivered Graven Hill Village, sold that one. And we're now starting to work with new people. This is critical to us. People trust us and we have to deliver. So I'll only work with people that have got a tried and tested track record. So the guys at Consortia, I've known for 20 years. The guys at Waven, the different developers, I'll only deal with people I've known for a long time and they've got a great track record. At the moment, we've got 5 of them. There's Seven Capital, there's the council, and there's Consortia, Wavensmere, Elevate, etc. But we'll actually build that portfolio. But as I say, only with people I know with a track record. Right, this is coming to the end of my bit. This is the interesting bit. The UK market. You've seen all this before. So JLL, Knight Frank, I don't know, CBRE, Savills, they all say it's going up. Well, of course it's going up because the UK can't keep up with the demand. There's a shortfall every year of 30,000 houses that are needed in the UK. The population's growing and we can't keep up with it. So there's a couple of things that are happening right now. We like the Midlands, because West Midlands and East Midlands, because we know it, we look for the investment cases. So everybody knows the big city plan in Birmingham for the last 10 years has been fantastic. Prices have doubled in the last 10 years, and there's still more to go. The two big parts of the big city plan in Birmingham are HS2, that's coming in 5 or 6 years eventually, and Birmingham Smithfield. Birmingham Smithfield is a 36-acre city centre right in the middle, retail, leisure, commercial, residential development. It's going to become the centre of the city. For 250 years, it's been the Bullring and Selfridges. This dwarfs that. It's a bit like Dubai when they build something that's impressive and they build something next to it that's 5 times the size. That's exactly Smithfield. And that's going to come in 5 years, as well as HS2. That's going to give us the growth in Birmingham. And then Derby, Liam will tell you about that. It's a smaller version of Birmingham that's got a big city plan. They've got a 3.5 billion investment program going on, and it's causing new job creation and therefore tenant demand. So Liam will tell you about that in a minute. What else is interesting about the UK property section at the moment? Well, I'll come on to this one in a minute, Liam. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. The first one is uncertainty. This terrible thing that's happening in Ukraine, and we all think about this all the time, what's going on there. And you take a moment out of your day to just imagine the horror. But it causes, if we're going back to this, it causes uncertainty. And so, what does it mean for what would this mean? Well, it's not for me to say that. I know about property, but it's not for me to talk about that stuff. But what I do know is when uncertainty comes, things can get put on hold. The one thing I know about UK property is that people have got to live somewhere, and there's a shortage, and the prices are just going up and up and up. It goes up a bit and comes down a bit, but then it goes up a bit. And this slide this is a fact of what's happened since 1977, so the last 40 odd years. You can see that it doubled in value. Look, 5 years, it doubled in value 5 years in the early days, then 6. And you can see that the gap's getting longer, 13 and 14 years. It might be 15, 20 years going forward. Because when you go 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, 32, 64, the curve can't just keep going like that. So it's naturally going to spread out longer. But if you're trying to build wealth for your pension pot and the future, if you've got 20 years for that to develop, this is still a good asset to invest in. I'm convinced about that.
Andy, I was going to ask a questions coming, and please do ask your questions. We'd love to answer questions as we're going along, so please do send. Somebody's just sent me a question. Okay, all the properties you bought over your 30 years in the business, have you ever made a mistake, and why?
Yeah, I tell you, it's a great question, and it's a bloody frightening mistake to make. I over leveraged myself, and what happened was it was only on one apartment, so I got up to 5 apartments, and it was great. They were all rented out. It was great, and the money was covering the mortgage and the service charge and everything, and it was lovely. And at that time, I would have been about 27, 28. And I just got a normal job. I was probably earning, 40 grand a year. And so, I was sitting pretty, I felt good, but then a leak happened. These apartments were all in the same block, and a leak happened at the top. Some guy, he went to bed, and the washing machine, the plug came out the back, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and he was sleeping. And it was like having the tap on full. And when he got out of bed in the morning, 5 hours later, it was a foot deep in water. And he went all the way through. So what happened? It was empty. I got no insurance for rent or anything like that. And so I had to pay all the money going out. I'm assuming it was about, 800 quid. And I was probably getting £1,000 rent. And so, but it affected the one below. And out of the 5 I'd got, I think about 2 or 3 of them. And that was me underwater financially. And it was horrible. I don't know how I got around it. I can't remember. It was about 25 years ago, but I remember thinking, Jesus, all the cards are going to come down because I haven't got the money to cover it. And I got through. I did get through. They were empty for 6 months because it had got to dry out and all the rest of it. But that was frightening. So the mistake I made was I over leveraged myself, and I hadn't got a contingency in place. I can't remember how I did it, but I just got through. But I thought I'll never do that again.
Thanks for that. Really, really insightful. I must say, I get asked the same question. I made a fatal mistake. I invested for some unknown reason in a property called Altaluso in Cardiff in South Wales. It was from Redrow, and I thought, this is great. It looks great. It was a beautiful building, historic building, conversion, and I went for it. It was 186,000. And guess what? About a mile away on the coast, they were completely flattening it and making loads of new flats. All of a sudden, mine was in competition for tenants, and obviously going up in value with about 800, 1,000 other units. I hadn't done my market research, and that taught me a lesson. It's got to be supply and demand, and you've got to look at all these factors.
Absolutely. It's sustainable tenant demand. The three things, I know I repeat myself. Don't lose your money. Go with the right developer, someone with a track record, the right partner. Second one, sustainable tenant demand. Look at the data. Where are the tenants coming from? We're looking for young professionals. These are the perfect tenants for us. And where's the job creation, and what's the data in that town or city? And then the last thing is time. Just look at this slide now. Just see if you can sit on it. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. You might need to sell, get out for the right or wrong reasons. There could be a fabulous opportunity and you've got to get all your cash in to go. So nobody knows. But in general, if you can sit on these and not touch them for 10, 15 years, you'll wish you bought more, because I always do. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I've always thought I wish I bought more.
And always buy landlord insurance, Andy.
Yes, yeah.
That's the other tale. We've got Andy Piggott listening. He's in Derby, and he's giving me notes. Get landlord insurance, he says.
Well, I saw Andy a couple of weeks ago, and I took him to this site that Liam's going to talk to you about, and he'll tell you it's a very, very impressive site. Right, the last thing I've got to say is another thing that's interesting in the market at the moment is this culture change that's going on. So culture change means that, you know, nobody rented in the UK, everybody had to buy. Nobody lived in the towns or the cities. That was just for shopping and for a night out and for the banking. And now, of course, the whole thing's changed, not just in the UK, but all around the world. People are flocking to live and work in the cities. There's a bit of a blip with the pandemic, people working from home, but it's just, if you look at the data, it's just going forward and forward. Now, as a result of this, institutional money, pension funds have come into the residential market. They were never in residential. They were only ever in commercial, leisure, retail. But now, because they know the future is residential in towns and cities, there's this new word, posh word, PRS, the private rented sector. It's also called build to rent, BTR. It's the same thing. Now, the difference is, this is, as I say, institutional money. This is where they're funding the whole 200, 500 units, and it's never for sale. So you and I can't buy it. It's not on the open market. And now I would guess that it's more, well, I'm pretty sure it's more than 50% of new build stuff going on in the UK is build to rent. We can't buy it, and it's getting bigger and bigger. So the opportunities for investor landlords like us to buy is actually shrinking as the build to rent and the PRS world grows. The other thing is this, they're clever. They know that it's all, they're not selling. They know it's all about income and rental. So the PRS product in general has amenities. They have like the gyms and this kind of stuff and concierge. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing has got those amenities, Grand Exchange and stuff like that we've done. But this is the thing, when I've studied it, and I've actually lived in them myself, I've lived in build buy-to-let and I've lived in PRS. The big differentiator is the concierge. It's this kind of lifestyle hotel type services that you get with build to rent. And that is what we're focusing on. We know that the young professionals, so you've got two types of tenant. You've got the tenant who she works in Tesco, he's an administrator or whatever, you know, they're earning 20 grand a year, 25 grand a year. Between them, they're £800 for a one bed. That is a buy to let apartment. What about if you're a young professional, a lawyer or an accountant or your management? You haven't got £800, you've got £1,200 or £1,500. You only want a one bed, but you want something, you've got the budget. And this is the culture now. We don't need to buy. We're happy to rent until we get older and have a family. And that's the difference with the two. So they've got more money. Now you can attract that build to rent tenant. You can attract that young professional and that management tenant if you've got this hotel type service. And everything we do going forward, including the two that Liam's going to talk to us about, have got that. So we've got the app that we're controlling ourselves. It's not going out to third parties. Just like our aftercare and our customer service, the team will be in-house for all of the developments. So every tenant that lives in Derby or in Birmingham at our developments will have this app for all the services. They'll be able to call, they'll be able to organise. The young ones will do it online on the app. The other ones will want a phone call. And so I'll just give you an idea. It's the hotel experience at home. That's what they're looking for. Concierge, hotel style services. Things like ironing, washing, dry cleaning, having your apartment cleaned, etc. Just simple things like restaurant bookings and car transfers, even dog walking today, memberships, discounts, this kind of thing, concert tickets and theatre and whatever. A big one, 24-hour doctor helpline, people like that, travel agents, etc. Young professional products is what they're looking for. And we'll be offering this on everything that we do. So again, it's all about tenant demand, sustainable tenant demand. When one of the apartments becomes available to let, the letting agent will have this as a tool. This comes with the hotel style services. Okay, I think that's it for me. Thanks, Chris. Over to you.
Andy, yeah. At the beginning, just do a quick 5-minute introduction. That was it. That was your 5-minute introduction?
What, for Liam?
Liam, welcome to the show. Your first time.
Yes, thank you very much.
Right. We're looking forward to this. Andy Pickett's on. He's walking around Derby as it speaks. So let's find out about it.
Yeah, brilliant. So the title of obviously this webinar was Derby, is it the UK's best kept buy-to-let secret? And to be honest with you, when we started talking about Derby, I didn't really know too much about it. But what I can tell you in our past experience is obviously finding the best market is exactly what we do. What you've just spoke about there, supply and demand. Derby really is the jewel in the crown, and I'm going to tell you exactly why that is. So I've got 5 reasons why Derby is a fantastic location to put to your clients, or if you are an investor, these are the reasons why you would consider Derby as opposed to potentially other cities in the UK. So first one, and you guys just touched upon this quite a lot, and it's probably the main reason. You looked at the facts and all those sorts of things. You need to make sure that if you're buying in a city, it's going to be sustainable. So Chris, like you said, you bought in Cardiff. Around the corner, there was another 1,000 apartments, and it seemed to be a bit of an oversupply. Now, Derby, in terms of population, it's just under 260,000, but it's anticipated to grow by another 60-odd thousand over the next 10 to 15 years. Derby has got an exceptionally young population. So 48% of the overall population are under 35. So when we talk about generation rent and young professionals, this is a perfect location because half the people that live there are going to be ultimately that rental age. So the demographic of the population are people that are moving into the areas for all of this new employment with these big engineering companies that I'm going to tell you about. So that just makes it a sustainable location. Derby has a student population of around 30,000, but more importantly, the graduate retention rate is 23%. So a fifth of people that study in Derby stay in Derby. And the reason for that is because of the employment with the Rolls-Royce, Bombardier, Toyota that I'm going to tell you about shortly. So if we look at the facts and the figures, in Derby right now, there are 17,800 rental properties. Only 1,500 of those are apartments. Now, if you think about other places where you could potentially invest, like Manchester, Liverpool, etc., we're talking like 25, 30, 40,000 apartments in those sorts of cities. Now, with 1,500 apartments in the city centre, and you've got the best part of 2,000-3,000 graduates coming into the city every year, you can clearly see that there's a massive undersupply of property. So the imbalance there is there. Derby is also not very mature in its residential market. So the apartments that have been built are 10, 20, 15 years old. So they don't have the amenities and the features that Andy's just mentioned that are exceptionally important to keep those tenants living there. The cornerstone of every investment when it's buy-to-let is the tenant. That's the most important thing. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the imbalance of supply and demand in Derby, which is a fantastic reason to invest there. The second reason, and again, we take this with a bit of a pinch of salt because these are obviously projections, but typically the likes of JLL, Knight Frank, Savills, they're usually spot on with their 5-year sort of projections. So JLL are forecasting a price increase for Derby City Centre of 17.5% over the next 4 years. So that's the capital appreciation expected on the values today to what they will look like in 4 years' time. Like Andy said, you really should be looking for a bit more of a long-term investment. But if you were to buy today, potentially buy in 5-6 years, that's the sort of uplift that you could potentially expect to have. More importantly, if you're in it for the long term, JLL are also predicting that the rentals in Derby are going to increase by 12% over the next 4 years. Now, just to give you an idea, in the last 12 months, this is a fact, Derby experienced the largest rental growth in the UK. Out of any city, out of any town, it increased by 8%. Now, going back to supply and demand, if there wasn't a supply and demand, that would be going down. And this is going right up. So that's the second reason. Third reason is the connectivity. So when you look at any property investment, obviously location is key, but also you've got to look at the wider prospect of this. So by train, you can get to London in just over an hour and 20 minutes, Manchester in an hour and a half, Birmingham in just over 30 minutes, and the two big cities that are very similar within the East Midlands area, Nottingham and Leicester, in 20 and 22 minutes. So exceptionally well connected. With it being in the heart of the UK, obviously in the Midlands, it's also very well connected by major roads and motorways. You can get to London by car in 150, Manchester 100 minutes, Birmingham in 50, and then Nottingham and Leicester in less than half an hour. Just to note that's not on this screen here, there are also two major airports, very, very well connected close by. You've got East Midlands, which is about a 15-minute drive, and you've got Birmingham International Airport, which you can get to in about 25 minutes by train. So very well connected by rail, road, and air. Again, that's going to add to the sustainability fact in the future. 4, which is something that when we researched, I was very, very surprised with. Derby has got the 6th most productive economy in the UK. It's got the 2nd highest average earning outside of the Southeast in the whole of the UK. Now, the reason for that is because these major employers, so you've got the likes of Toyota, Rolls-Royce and Bombardier. Toyota, obviously one of the largest car manufacturers, based just outside of the city centre. Bombardier make planes and trains, they're in the city centre. And Rolls-Royce, they employ 33,000 people in Derby. Now, Derby is actually better known as the home of Rolls-Royce as opposed to anything else. So that alone, with those 3 major employers, adds to the whole graduate retention rate. And this is why we've actually invested in Derby, because we know with those sorts of employers, and they're constantly investing into the area, it makes it a sustainable investment. Rolls-Royce have got an aerospace hub within the centre of Derby, which is only a 5-minute drive from the development we're going to talk about shortly. And we're being told by the letting agents in Derby that your demographic or your key tenants are going to be people that are working for these companies. The 5th reason is, Andy touched upon this, is regeneration. And you obviously want to buy into an area that's going through big changes. The last thing you want to do is buy at the end when the prices have gone up and you've seen all the benefits of the changes. You want to buy at the start. And this is where we are right now. So the redevelopment of Derby is a £3.5 billion master plan. That's going to add new residential amenities into the area. There's investment into public realm, parks. We've also seen a brand new shopping centre, which I think is about 5 to 6 years old now. So that was the start of this master plan. And it's fantastic. It's very similar to the Bullring in Birmingham or Westfield in London. It's got every major retail on your doorstep. lovely food hall, and that just contributes to the exceptional investment opportunity that sits within Derby right now. So let's move on to the key figures. £3.5 billion economy, 48% of the population under 35 makes it a perfect rental market, 17.5% projected capital appreciation over the next 4 years, and a 12% uplift in rents over the next 4 years as well. Taking into consideration, rents have already increased by 8% in the last 12 months alone. So I personally think 12% over 4 years is probably going to be a lot more than that. So the Nightingale Quarter, this is the development that we are offering right now. It's a large scheme in the centre of Derby. When I say it's 200 metres away from the shopping mall, I'm not exaggerating. You could throw a stone and break a window. The development itself is a mix of apartments and houses, which is quite niche in itself. This isn't just another scheme with 200 apartments. This has got communal areas, gardens, landscapes. There's an outdoor gym lifestyle area. There are 2 iconic pepper pot buildings which form part of the old Royal Infirmary Hospital, which is what this site used to be. One of the pepper pots is going to be a new lifestyle club, which is a gym, yoga rooms, etc. The other pepper pot building is going to be a community hub, cafe, bar, restaurant, coffee shop. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner what I'm talking about when I say a pepper pot. Now, in terms of the Nightingale Quarter, this development is under construction. The houses are already built, completed. The uptake in the rentals there is phenomenal. And the first block of apartments that we're bringing to the market is called the Pavilion. Now, the Pavilion, and the reason why we brought this to the market, is located within this development in a prime spot. It's between these 2 pepper pot buildings that I've just mentioned to you. It faces the London Road, and it's a tree-lined sort of avenue that you're sort of outlooking onto. Towards the back of the development, you're overlooking the communal gardens. Now, the apartments here, we've got 1-bedroom apartments available at a price point of 182,950 to about 186. There's not a huge difference in the prices there. The deposits required to invest here off plan are 25%. We're going to be delivering this development in Q2 next year. It's about a 12-month delivery. We're out of the ground, construction has already started, so there's no delays expected in terms of that itself. The apartments are really good sizes. They're obviously designed for that young professional tenant, very, very high specification. If you want any further details on finer details of that, we can obviously speak to you on an individual basis. Give you a bit of an idea of the internal images. Obviously, integrated appliances in the kitchens as standard, fully fitted floorings, etc., etc. Furniture packs are obviously available as well on completion. This gives you an idea of the location. So when I said it's 200 meters away, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but the Pavilion site within the Nightingale is here, and this is the city centre here. Rolls-Royce is just there. Now, one thing to mention, because of it's such a central location, there is a shuttle that runs from the Derby Shopping Centre, which is 200 metres away from the site, down the London Road to Bombardier and Rolls-Royce every 20 minutes. So tenants can benefit from a constant shuttle back and forth from the city to where they're going to be working. And this is one of the other reasons why we've obviously invested in this particular development. So Chris, you mentioned buying a development in Cardiff, and then there was another 1,000 apartments built, and you felt that it was a bit oversaturated. But listen, if there's 4,000 apartments built in Derby in the next 2 or 3 years, they won't be in this location, and they won't have the iconic features that this development would have. This makes it exceptionally sustainable.
And can I just come in on the subject that somebody just asked on mortgages? You've obviously done your due diligence on mortgages. I know you have, and I know that Eddie Piggott has as well. We've done that from the Holborn end. I always talk about 65, but what I'm hearing now, people are getting 70 and even 75. Have you got any experience of that?
Yeah, so over the last 2 years, Chris, I've been working with a lot of clients out in Asia. And we've always erred on the side of caution and said that you should be putting in a 35% deposit and get a land loan to value of 65%. But yes, in the last 12 months, when we've seen delivery of our projects, there are clients that now have access to your 25% deposit, so you can leverage up to 75%. I would always still err on the side of, if you're an international investor, still expect to put 30% in, but best case scenario, if you can leverage a little bit more, then it's a win-win situation. If you're domestic, UK, you can get a 25%, 75% loan to value mortgage, and they're quite readily.
And get in there early. I can't express that too much. Speak to the Holborn mortgage team and get in there early. And obviously, if you want to do anything on remortgages, then speak to them at the same time. But yeah, get in early. It just takes away that stress in the last 3 months. If somebody says, no, like with Andrew's example in Spain, I mean, that's pretty acute. You've got 2 weeks, but no, start 5 months before, if not earlier. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, look, this is a project that's being delivered in 12 months' time, not 3 years. So like you mentioned, Chris, if you're going to get an agreement in principle, the likelihood that the rates today are going to look pretty similar this time next year, I would imagine. So you can get a very good indication of what your outgoings and incomings are going to be, and that allows you to plan and take the stress out of it all as well. So which is great. Chris, you mentioned about due diligence for mortgages. Yes, we obviously speak to the Council of Mortgage Lenders. We get them to vet our developments before we go to market. So things like windows not opening, apartments being too small for lending, types of materials. And this is a big thing in the UK right now. These EWS1 forms that you need to now get a mortgage because of cladding and combustible materials. This is why the new build market today is more popular than it has ever been. So in Birmingham, I can look outside the window right now and I can see scaffolding surrounding most of the apartments, and they're all changing the external cladding of these buildings. And it is a real problem. Now, new build, obviously, we know what features or materials you cannot use in terms of creating issues for the future. So when you're thinking about investing today, the secondary market isn't like it was 2-3 years ago. It looks very, very different now because of those problems. Please buy new build. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so that was Derby. Guys, if you've got any questions or you want to speak to us on a one-to-one basis about Derby, you've got Johnny obviously over in Dubai and Elliot, and obviously we're in the UK as well. Just reach out. I'm just going to touch on Birmingham, because they've dropped me in this at the last minute, but I'll talk to you about another project. But I'm delighted to, because it's an amazing scheme, like Chris said. So Birmingham is very similar to Derby in terms of its regeneration plan, employment, graduate retention, just on a much bigger scale. There's been a huge amount of development in Birmingham, and we're still seeing the fact that there is an undersupply of property. And the main reason for that is because land space in Birmingham, everything that is right for development is being built by commercial developers. It's all office space. There's very little residential. And the schemes that you have coming to the market are maybe 100 here, 200 there. We're not talking thousands and thousands of apartments.
Excuse me.
Now, the good thing about this particular development, which is called Lockside Wharf, is that it's small. There's only 71 units. And it's iconic in the fact that it's adjacent to the waterways in Birmingham, so the canals that are very, very popular now. They've all been cleaned up over the last 10 years. We've made a big feature of these canal areas. So you've got the mailbox, you've got Brindley Place, bars, restaurants, coffee shops, they're all sitting on the water's edge. And this development is literally 500 meters away from everything. The business district, HSBC's new offices, it's located so centrally. We couldn't have offered a better location if we tried. So Lockside Wharf, prices start from 284,950 here. There are one-bedroom apartments, but they're very big. So the 284,950 are one beds. You can pick up 2 beds just over 300K. So probably if I'm looking at an investment, I'm obviously looking at these plans. I think the 2-bedroom apartments here are very, very well priced. They fit well within the pound per square foot market in Birmingham. And we take 20% deposits off plan here. And again, similar to the Pavilion, this is going to be delivered in Q2 next year. So just a 12-month wait for delivery. but you're looking at sort of similar capital projections over the next 4 to 5 years. KLA are actually saying that it could go up by 25% in Birmingham. So obviously a very, very good investment case for Birmingham. Lockside Wharf, the specification is exceptionally high. So this isn't just another block of apartments with the same specification throughout. This is quite niche. The kitchens here have been designed by Poggenhol, which are a German exclusive kitchen manufacturer. All of the en-suites, the bathrooms, they've got designer taps, there's brass features, there's golds. It's a fantastic development, and the sizes of the apartments warrant a slightly higher rent. So we're aiming for that professional tenant that's potentially earning a higher than average salary. Go on, Chris.
I was going to ask you if you can go just back one slide. Somebody just actually sent a message in, a question in. So you've got the balconies on the front side.
Yeah.
And they're 1 and 2 beds, are they?
Yeah, so canal facing apartments, it's kind of a bit of a 50-50 split. The majority of those ones that you see there are 2 beds, but there are a handful of 1 beds facing into the canal as well. On the other side of the building, they're facing to Scotland Street, which is where the main entrance is. There's not balconies, however, they do have additional features. So they're on the 4th floor, there are double heighted vaulted apartments with floor to ceiling glass, so there's an additional feature there. So in our availability list, every single apartment has a slight difference to the others. So there might be exposed brick, for example, in some of them to give that industrial feel of this particular location. Some of them have got the floor to ceiling balconies. Some of them have got actually very big balconies, and some of them have got terraces also. You can see in this photograph here that there is a roof terrace, and that's a communal roof terrace, which you can see in this bottom right-hand corner photograph here. So there's a communal terrace on the roof that people use. So if you are in an apartment without a balcony, you have still got some outdoor space to use.
I think it's amazing, Liam, and I make no apology for dropping you in it at the last minute after meeting Johnny earlier this week. I think the location, the look of the building, the fact that it's on the water there, okay, nearly 300,000, but it's going to be for executives, isn't it? It's going to be proper execs in there, but what a lovely place to live.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. The reaction from the letting agents when we've shown them the plans and things that, they're saying, there's nothing like this in Birmingham at the minute. There are a few developments on the canals, but, they're 300 unit, developments with no, differentials to anything else in the market. So yeah, we're very excited about delivering this to the market and seeing how popular it's going to be when it's delivered with the rental uptake. And
for wealth managers watching and for clients who are watching, you know who to get hold of. You know your Joseph Mews representative as it is. Please, any questions? The recording will be up. Anything else, Liam, on Birmingham?
No. I don't think so. Well, this is obviously, a city sort of landscape. You can see things like Arena Central, Brindley Place, Paradise. This is all regeneration stuff. And obviously you've got the Lockside Wharf logo right in the middle of that because, it's so central. But we've touched upon this. I think you really, obviously, anyone that's interested in these schemes need to look at them in a bit more detail on a one-to-one basis. So I think that's all from me, Chris.
That's great, and I'm so pleased that I had a word and said, look, add Birmingham. I know Derby's a brilliant investment case. I know you've got other stuff coming up, but such a good sneak preview for everyone that's on this to get in there early. And I love the idea that not all the apartments are the same, and it's a converted block, historical block, and people are going to get different aspects and different layouts. I think it's great. So thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. We've gone on a bit longer than we thought, but the numbers have kept on increasing, and I'm delighted for that. One quick advert from me. Jerry Leahy sent out a brand new link to the super cheat sheet yesterday. Please click on it, save it. It's just the best tool, and both these projects are going to be on it very shortly. Andy, got anything? Do you want to do any more, Andy, or was that 45 minutes you spoke for non-stop enough?
No, well, congratulations again to your for your winning that award, Chris. And yeah, the only thing that I'll say is to add to what you and Liam have both said is both of these developments are what we call unicorn developments. Where do you get them again? Where will we get a development like the one on the water at Lockside, right next to Brindley Place? It's just a really good opportunity to invest in the location. And the same at the Pavilion. That once that plot is developed, you'll never, there's no way, if you look at the aerial landscape picture of Derby, you're never going to get something that's right next to it, that's next to everywhere. So they're both key locations. Don't lose your money, go with the right partner, get the right location for sustainable tenant demand, and keep it as long as you can. And one more reminder, go to Holborn Assets Property, click on there under our services, and you can get so many podcasts of previous shows, including the one Andy did on how to build a property portfolio. So please look back on those. More viewers apparently on that than Game of Thrones. You won't believe that, Andy, will you? But that's what marketing has told me. Mate, we're doing all right. So we've got Darren on here. So please, on the mortgage thing, reach out to Darren, reach out to me, reach out to any of the guys. And thank you very much. That was really good. Great to have you back on, Andy. And Liam, first time on the show. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Bye.